program to our Thursday evening social before our 4th of July Eve, Independence Day tomorrow. And we are going to work on page 7 and page 16 tonight. So hope you have your journals with you. If you don't have your July journal, don't worry. You can do this on a blank journal, scratch paper, Post-it notes, and then transfer it in when you get your July journals. So no worries. I know some folks had a little bit of a delay with getting their July journals. So just know you can do this without the journal, right? And make sure that you set that chat to everyone. Because if you don't, the only people that will see what you write, it has a tendency to flip back to host and panelist. And when that happens, the only people who see what you write are myself and my fabulous co-host Bailey, who will be helping me out in the chat, kind of keeping an eye. She's going to pop on and give a little wave. She's in Tennessee, and she will be helping me out in the chat. My name is Maya. If you haven't met me before, I am in Aurora, Colorado. Aurora's a little, well, it's not little, but it's a suburb of Denver. And it was pretty warm here today. And I was just telling Bailey, I just about an hour ago gave my hubby a kiss goodbye, and he went off camping with his dad. They're going to Utah to do some camping over the weekend. And so I'm alone in the house, unsupervised with the cat. So who knows what this weekend will bring. And Monica is asking how my interview went. So yes, I had another interview. If you've been with me before, you know I'm kind of navigating the job hunt scene. Had a really great interview yesterday, a 4th or 5th, I can't remember how many interview, but it was supposed to be 30 minutes and we ended up talking for an hour and a half. So I'm hoping that's a good sign. Of course, with the holiday weekend, it kind of throws things. So hopefully I hear something on Monday. So crossing my fingers. Thank you for asking. So let's see. So you did see, hopefully you saw, and I saw lots of you talking about our coaching program, the Jenny, our online coach, the coaching, and you can sign up if you haven't. Due to popular demand, they decided to extend that offer for the 14-day free trial, no credit card required. So if you haven't signed up for that, if you've been kind of on the fence, you're like, I don't know if I want to try it, 14 days free. You don't have to give them your credit card. So that's 2 weeks of fun, kind of using it, digging in. I know a lot of folks in the chat were saying that they are really enjoying using the coaching and kind of seeing what that looks like. And you do, if you decide to continue on, you get 50% off your first 3 months. So it is definitely a fun thing to do. So just wanted to make sure that you knew that that was there. So I'm so glad to hear that folks are enjoying that trial. So just a few community guidelines. We want to make sure this is a safe and secure and very supportive space. So we just ask that you're kind and courteous to both yourself and to others. No promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy here. What happens in the Sonder Social stays in the Sonder Socials. No hate speech or bullying. We limit those repetitive product and accessory questions. It's fine to, ask a few questions about pins that don't bleed or stickers. But the best place to ask those really is in the app, in the Sonder Club app, so people can post pictures and links and all those kinds of things for you. And then any of those customer care inquiries go to our headquarters team at hello@silkandsonder.com. So if you haven't got your July journal yet, you have billing issues, need to change your payment method, address changes, all of those, they all go to hello@silkandsonder.com. Keep in mind that they will be closed tomorrow for the 4th holiday, and they are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 Pacific Coast. So it might take them a little while to get back to you if you email them over the weekend, but just know they will get back to you. And then ultimately, these socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. And if you've been with us for a while, you know we have a fabulous, super supportive community, but ultimately you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So if there's ever anything that we're working on that you're just kind of not, you're not into it, you're like, oh, this page isn't my jam, this like really isn't something that I want to work on tonight, do what you need to do, right? This is your time, this is your hour, so you make it yours. If you want to spend the time coloring, if you want to spend the time hanging out in the chat, if you want to work on a different page than we're working on, absolutely fine. Give you total permission to do what you need to do during this hour, because this is your hour of self-care, and we are so glad that you were able to take some time to do that. So again, if the music really is not your jam, you can mute it. If my voice isn't your jam, you can mute me. We have closed captioning enabled, so you can turn that on. So again, do what you need to do for you. We do also record these socials, so they will be available on the YouTube channel. Again, it takes a few days for those to get posted. Just keep in mind that the chat is not part of the recording. So just know if there's anything in the chat that you needed to remember or write down, grab that. Also, if any of the slides have some interesting things you want to remember, I always suggest that you take a screenshot or take a picture with your camera so that you can go back and you have those as well. So, all right. So this theme this month is independence. And I think it's been really great how a lot of folks are really embracing this theme and really thinking about the idea of independence, like independence from things, like independence from negative self-talk, or the idea of taking taking kind of ownership of our own actions and our own behaviors. And then I like the little quote that said, independent women know their own worth and pave their own path. And I think so many of us here in Sonder Club really are, the more we use Silk and Sonder, the more that we come to these socials, the more we participate in these activities, we really learn our worth, right? And we really discover a lot about ourselves. We discover how strong we are. I'll be honest, if this whole job situation thing would have happened 5 years ago before I had Silk and Sonder, I think I would not be in such a good place. But when it happened and they told me they were eliminating my position, they told me at the end of April that they were eliminating my position June 30th. I honestly didn't freak out about it. It was like, huh, okay, curveball, didn't have that on my bingo card for 2025, but all right, let's see what I can do, right? Maybe that's the universe telling me there's something bigger and better out there. So I'm going to work on what that looks like. And so hopefully that is what will happen. So again, I don't think I would have been in that place if I hadn't been spending 5 years with you all and working through the journals and doing all of this. So so I'm glad that you're here. Is anybody brand new? Is any, like, this is your very first social, July is your first month. You can just put like a me in the chat, or let us know that this is your first social that you're coming to. I know, oh, me, Lauren, excellent. Welcome, welcome. I know I see a lot of familiar names, and so it's okay if you're brand new. It's okay if you have been here for a long time. We always want to make sure that we welcome our newcomers, and so that they know we have these socials where we focus on journal pages, and we also have weekly setup socials. We have monthly setup socials. We've got a lot of fun stuff. I think we have a mid-year exclusive event coming up in the middle of July too. So I think they did fix the Eventbrite link that's in Sonder app. By the way, it was just showing like 4 events, but there are a lot more that are available to sign up. So hopefully that's been fixed so you're able to get in there and sign up for those. Yeah, Monica, we didn't do a Christmas in July this year. You might want to send an email to hello@silkandsonder.com and let them know that you were, if you're sad that we didn't do that, so that maybe it gets on the radar for next year. So our agenda for tonight is we're going to do a fun little opening activity. Then we're going to work on that Wheel of Life on page 7. Beth Ann, you said you only see 4 events. Click on the where it says the word Silk and Sonder, like you're in the little Eventbrite thing and there's a little thing that says Silk and Sonder. Click on that and it goes to like the main page and see if that shows you the rest of them. Wheel of Life is on page 7. Goal setting is on page 16. And I really liked these 2 quotes to really kind of drive home this idea. You have control over 3 things in your life: the thoughts that you think, the images you visualize, and the actions you take, right? And we can't control other people's actions. We can't control what other people say or what other people do or what happens in the world. We can only control our thoughts, our images, and our actions. And along those lines, you can't always control what's happening around you, but you can control how you react and respond to it. And that's where your true power lies. And that is so true. And I think the sooner we really embrace that idea, then we can become more independent. We can gain our independence from being kind of at the whim of the world or others or those kinds of things, right? So I really like that idea. So for our opening activity, I want you to find like a blank notes page or a blank page in your journal. Maybe it's that scratch pad of the week. Maybe it's a sticky note, anything like that. And we are going to think of our summer superpower. So if you could have one whimsical summer superpower, so for example, the ability to instantly cool down any space, or the ability to make ice cream appear out of nowhere, or the ability to perfectly skip stones, what would it be and how would you use it? So we're going to have our summer superpower. So my summer superpower would be instantly drying off after swimming in the pool, the ocean, or the lake. Um, I love swimming in all three of those, but I hate getting out of the water and then being all wet and then like get sand on me or being sticky to the chair. So my summer superpower is that instant dry off, right? I will instantly, I come out of the pool and I will instantly be all dry. So I'll play a little bit of music, let you work on this, and then put in the chat and or write down your summer superpower, and then we'll check back in here in just a moment. All right, lots of fun summer superpowers. I saw lots of folks having the ability to have it be a lovely 72 degrees with low humidity, maybe a light breeze, staying hydrated without having to drink too much water. What else did I see? Let's see, being outside in the heat without feeling all sweaty and gross. Yes, I like the heat, but the nice thing in Colorado is usually a pretty dry heat, but still sometimes it gets to be a little much there. What else? We had some folks that wanted some ice cream to appear or to be able to instantly teleport to the beach, and then teleport home when we were done and not have to sit in traffic. Maybe having an endless series of cold beverages and books and nice temperatures. Um, yeah, a lot of us want to be Mother Nature, kind of changing up the weather. Also, maybe getting rid of bugs or keeping bugs away from us. Maybe the bugs can be there, but they just aren't getting on us. Counteracting the humidity's effect on your hair. Yes, my hair gets very frizzy when we go to the beach. Let's see, using as much water as I want and not having that higher water bill or guilt. I love that. Being immune to the biting insects outside. What else? All those different fun. I get lots of teleporting. Um, not having to turn their AC on when it's hot outside. Yeah, I would really like to be able to sleep. I like sleeping with the windows open, but we don't have a ton of time during the year where that actually keeps it cool enough, right? Sometimes it just gets a little stuffy. So I do like to sleep with the windows open. Well, and as long as our neighbors behind us don't have their blazing back porch lights on, which is very hard to sleep. But all right, so that was fun. Hopefully you enjoyed coming up with your summer superpower. And you can think of that as you're going along this weekend. So let's dive into page 7 to our wheel of life. And if you've been with us for a while, you notice we do this, I think about 4 times a year. I think we do April, July, October. Does that sound right? And maybe January. I'm trying to remember the months that we do it. I should have looked again, but we do this usually once a quarter, because that's about the time that it takes when you can kind of do this little assessment and then maybe take some steps to change up what some of these numbers look like to you. So usually that's how that rolls. So with this, the instructions say for each of these areas in your life, rank them between 1 and 10 based on how fulfilled you feel. Write down, and then you can write down one way you can increase your level of fulfillment for any or all of these actions. So keep in mind that these categories we give you are suggestions, just like our monthly intentions. So there's not, you're not stuck with any particular one of these. So here's some kind of tips and tricks for things that you can look at. So for each of these areas in your life, rank them between 1 and 10 on how fulfilled you feel. But maybe fulfilled doesn't quite ring true to you, right? Maybe it's not fulfilled. Maybe it's more what like a sense of acceptance, right? Or how you're feeling about those areas, or satisfaction. How satisfied are you with each one of those areas in your life, right? So maybe have you accepted your current reality in these situations? Is there satisfactions? You could also rate how authentic you feel in each of these areas, right? So is there kind of a feeling of authenticity around your career? Yeah, and the numbers are not on the wheel this time. I noticed that too. I had to write them and I was like, wait, the numbers are not there. So you could actually start wherever you wanted to. But generally speaking, we usually have them numbered starting at 1 at the top and then going clockwise. So this is on page 7. So this is going to be on page 7 in your journal. The other thing you can do, again, you can switch up those categories. So for example, for number 7, I switched that one out to knitting, because knitting is an area of my life that I usually spend a lot of time around, but like I haven't lately, but I kind of wanted to bring that in there. And then I switched up number 4 to nutrition, because I wanted kind of nutrition to be a little bit separate from health, right? So something maybe a little more targeted. The other thing that you could do is, instead of thinking of these areas in your life, think of the areas or think of themes. You could also look at your roles. So how fulfilled or what kind of satisfaction do you have in your role as a parent, as a spouse, as a daughter, as an employee, right? Kind of thinking about your role, how you feel about your role, maybe your role as a homeowner, your role as a board member if you're on a board, those kinds of things. So you might want to, as you're thinking of this, find like a blank page and just kind of journal out some tips. And I know some people were saying, are there like specific questions around any of these? I was trying to scroll back to see, is there a list of questions for Wheel of Life stuff so you can be a bit more objective about it? So one thing I would say is that this isn't necessarily meant to be an objective activity. It is a little subjective, right? It really is how you're feeling about these areas. But if you want to maybe think about like some evidence, some data, so you might want to say like, okay, career, what are some things that I'm thinking about my career right now, right? What are some issues? Maybe it's not as flexible as I would like it, the timing wise. Maybe my pay isn't as much as I would like. Maybe I'm having to take on too much work, or maybe I just got a promotion and that's feeling really good, right? So kind of thinking about those. And Lori's saying, I feel the number can change often during the month, and I never know how to freeze time to make an accurate picture. So here's what I would suggest right now, in this moment, right now, on July 3rd, how fulfilled or what do you feel on these? And what you can do, I'll show you a picture of one. You can do like a right now, and then you can do another one maybe toward the end of the month and see kind of what the difference looks like for you there. So I'm just going to show you some examples, because some people are like, how am I supposed to fill this in? Am I supposed to color it? Am I supposed to like draw lines through it? So here's some, we've got some people using stickers. I like the one on the top left. It almost looks like a bunch of little ladybugs kind of clustering along. Yeah, and Bailey's got a great suggestion too, is that you could always try doing this in pencil first, right? So using some pencil first just to kind of give yourself the opportunity to erase if needed. Then you can see the one in the top right is just kind of lines to that. So the one is that dot in the center, and then it goes out to 10. So 10 is the outside piece. So on a scale of 1 to 10, right, that's where you are. And then you can see the one in the middle, they kind of wrote some different things about each one of those areas, right? So like you were kind of talking about wanting some information about, so again, if it was say fun and leisure for number 6, maybe you would write things like movies, date night, those, like what things do you think of when you think about what that is? Again, here's an example of you can do a beginning of the month slice and an end of the month slice. So you can see this person did start and end, drew a little line, right? And kind of have that so they can kind of see how that feels. And again, think about this like this, it probably does change a little bit sometimes from day to day. So just right now, we have the rating, and then we'll talk a little bit about how you might want to move if you want to get that to be a higher number. We'll think a little bit about what that looks like, right? And Christy has a really good point. She says, sometimes I'm fine with it being low, right? So she's saying community's at 4 with me, and I am okay with that. And that is absolutely fine, right? It's just a little data point for you to see like, okay, community is a 4 right now. I'm good with that. And so what I would probably do is, so on my line up there where it says community, I would write 4, and then I might write to the side of it, and I'm fine with that, right? I don't need to change it. I'm not going to focus on that. I'm not going to make that something that I need to pay attention to. It's just a noticing, right? And again, the nice thing is because we have these quarterly, you can kind of look back and see that snapshot of where things were. And if you did this in April when we had it before, maybe you can pull that one out and kind of take a look and revisit and see if there's some areas that you wanted to improve. Did they improve? Or kind of how is that feeling, right? Are you noticing any changes? So just some different ideas for that. Here's some other kind of pictures you can see, ways people have done that. Person made it into a really pretty flower over on the left, and kind of colored the petals in to show how fulfilled they felt in each one of those areas. And then there's like the little radar graph up on the top left again. So they have one color, there's like a blue, and they put a dot where it was and then drew the lines. And then they did red, probably beginning of month, end of the month, and then did that. Again, another one over on the right where they literally wrote different kinds of things in each one. They didn't necessarily rate them. They just wrote the things that were thinking, that they were thinking of for each of these areas. So you can do that as well. Again, here's some other examples. They kind of colored in the top bar and wrote in what it was, and then just kind of drew in the lines. Again, and then there's one there where they kind of used a pencil. Again, some more little dots and lines, some pretty little dots up at the top, some different colors. So lots of, excuse me, lots of fun ways to kind of work on that. And then notice the one in the middle, they say the areas I want to be higher should be new habits. So they're like, okay, so for those areas I want to be higher, I'm going to start to think about what habits I can put in place so that next time I do this, those numbers can be higher. So again, here's some other ones, right? They have some, again, different colors, writing different things in there. Here's some more with some pretty lines, some dots. Again, writing different. The one in the middle, they kind of have some different things in there to think about it. So like for number 6, which I think is the fun and leisure, they have things like daily journaling, applying life skills, prayer, meditation. So different kinds of things that they might have changed up number 6 to something else, right? Again, kind of thinking of that. And again, notice more words, more kinds of things as they're thinking of each of these pieces. And really the whole point of this is just to get you thinking about different areas of your life, because remember, we're not one dimensional, right? There's lots of different things that feed into how we feel, that feed into our sense of well-being. And so this is just an opportunity for you to look at some of these things to see if maybe there's some areas that you want to focus on if you haven't been feeling quite where you want to feel, right? So here's mine on the right. So I did put career TBD because I don't know. And I don't really want to rate it necessarily on the career that just the job that just ended, right? Because that's ended, that's done, that's over. And so fulfilled, I'm not sure. It's kind of a neutral place right there. And then I kind of put some little things, little notes in there. So like financial, I said that I felt like an 8. And I just want to say I want to hold on those impulse buys because I've been doing really good on impulse buys, but I want to make sure that I hold on that, right? And then again, like you can see, I changed up number 4 and number 7 to something else to kind of give me some ideas. Number 10, I rated as a 5 with saying I have a little too much clutter. So that and nutrition has been are 2 of my lower ones, right? And then you can also circle your bottom 1 or 2 and then really think about how you might want to focus there this month. Maybe write down one way you can increase your level of fulfillment in those areas, and use independence maybe as your grounding. So I am going to let you work on that. And then again, think of for those 2 areas that you want to focus on, maybe think about your vision for those areas, how you want to feel. How do you want to show up? And again, those are 2 low areas that you want to focus on. If it's low, but you're good with that, then you're not going to focus on that one, right? Think about ones you want to focus on. How do you want to show up? How do you see yourself? What do you want to create? What thoughts or beliefs do you have around those areas? What do you believe about yourself in those areas? Maybe identify those limiting thoughts or beliefs, thinking about how you can change them. So I gave you a lot to kind of think about as you work on this. And I know there's lots of folks sharing in the chat, kind of thinking about what they want to do for each of these areas. So I will just kind of scroll through. I will let you keep sharing in the chat, or maybe thinking about how you want to do each one of these areas, and then we'll check back in here in just a few moments. All right, I know that wasn't a ton of time, and some of you might just be starting to kind of get into some of these areas and think about it. The other thing too is, again, if there's some areas that um, maybe are lower, but you're not necessarily interested in, like, you don't necessarily have to fill out all 10 of them, right? Just kind of maybe think about those ones that you really want to focus on. Um, some folks really want to focus maybe on career, or some folks really want to focus on family and friends, or maybe you want to split the family and friends category into two, right? And because maybe friends is a higher number than what family is, or vice versa, right? So again, this is really all about just giving yourself that little bit of reflection time to kind of think about these different areas of your life, these different, and again, or it could be maybe the roles that you play in life, and think about how they're working or maybe not working as well as you would like, and then think of what you want to do in these next few months to maybe change that. So when you think about setting your intentions for the month, when you think about creating your habits for the month, and um, uh, what's the word? Coincidentally enough, when you think about setting goals, right? So let's move into our goal setting on page 16, because this might give you some ideas if maybe one of these areas wasn't as high as you would like it, and you want to set some goals that will help um, align that higher number when you take this again in, I think it's October, is when we have this again, right? So over there on, is it page 16 or 17? Did I put the wrong page on there? Um, Sometimes I put the wrong pages on there. I'm just looking at my journal. Nope, 16. It's on page 16. So this is a very meaty page, right? There is a lot going on here, and I'm going to give you a lot to think about. So I've got lots of resources here, and we have about 20 minutes, right? So again, you might have to work on it a little bit after our social, which is absolutely fine. So we are going to set a goal, and I'm going to give you some tips for setting a goal. So you may have heard this before, the idea of making a SMART goal. So SMART, the S means specific. So you really want to clearly define what you want to achieve. So instead of saying things like, I want to clean a house, or I want to get fit, right? You'll say something like, I want to run a 5K race, or I want to have a minimalist style home, or something like that, right? You want to get super specific. Then you also want to make sure that it's measurable. How are you going to track your progress and know when you've achieved your goal? So for the 5K, that's easy, right? You either finish it or you don't. But for other goals, maybe there's numbers or deadlines or some sort of observable changes. Yes, Janet says I'm a teacher, so sitting here laughing about SMART goals. So some of you probably are very familiar with the idea of SMART goals. The A is achievable or attainable. Is your goal realistic given your resources, time, and current ability? It should be challenging, but not impossible, right? So if you want to do a 5K, you're not going to say, and I want to do it next week, and I've not done any walking or running at all, and I'm going to be ready for a 5K next week, right? That timeline is not really achievable or attainable. So you want to be realistic. And then relevant. Does this goal truly matter to you? Is this somebody else's goal? Is this what you think you should set for a goal? Does it align with your values, your priorities, your purpose, or long-term vision? If it's not relevant, you're probably not going to stay motivated, right? And then time bound. You want to set a deadline for your goal. It's not like I want to run a 5K at some point in my life, right? You want to be pretty specific. So set that deadline, creates that sense of urgency, helps keep us on track. So you might say, I want to run a 5K race by October 31st, 2025, right? So that my goal is, again, you want to be very specific here. And then the target date, you want like an actual date in there. It could maybe be just a month in the year and not the actual day. And then that how I'll know I've achieved my goal, that's the measurable part, right? This is how you're going to measure that. For the 5K, it's kind of like either I did it or I didn't do it. And then why is it important for me to achieve it, right? That's that relevant piece. Why is this relevant to me? The what will be different when I achieve my goal, that's a little bit different. It could go into the relevance piece, but that's like an extra piece to kind of think about it. I like to think of that as kind of the visioning, like visualizing what will my life be like when I reach that goal. And then we have some known obstacles and then how we overcome them. So the idea is you're identifying, you're being realistic about what might get in your way, right? If it's really hot outside and you want to start running, known obstacle is the temperature outside, right? And then I have to think of a solution. I have to think how I'm going to overcome that. So maybe it's I'm going to join a gym that has a track, or I'm going to run in the early morning or in the late evening when it's cooler. Once you identify those potential obstacles, you can brainstorm those ways to overcome them. And this approach can help prevent the setbacks, right? And then you're going to break it down. Those are your next steps, right? So if you have a large goal, it can feel very overwhelming. So maybe you want to break that into smaller, manageable steps or milestones. This makes the process less daunting, provides that roadmap, and kind of gives you that little set of to-dos there. So again, like I said, visualizing success, these are some more tips to kind of think of as you're doing this. So really clearly imagine what it's going to look like and feel like when you achieve your goal. Maybe you write about that. Maybe you journal about that. You're going to focus on the process, not just the outcome. So the process are all those little small steps, giving yourself rewards when you celebrating those small victories, right? Sometimes the journey of working toward a goal is as valuable as achieving it. Being flexible and adaptable. Life happens. Sometimes things don't go according to plan. So be willing to adjust your approach or even the goal itself if circumstances change. Flexibility doesn't mean giving up. It means intelligently navigating your path. So whatever you set here, if that time frame doesn't quite look good, you could always change that again later. Or maybe you want to refine your goal as you work on it. And then consider a support system who can encourage you, hold you accountable, offer advice. Sharing your goals with trusted friends, family members, or mentors can provide valuable support and motivation. So maybe you want to share here in Sonder Club, like your sharing here as well, and maybe you want to share in Sonder Club and something. So I'm trying to think of a way that maybe I can do that with mine. So here's mine, and I will be honest and say that I did use Jenny, our little coach, right, our online coaching, to help me come up with the answers to this page. So I took a picture of this page and I was like, hey Jenny, I want to set a goal around decluttering and kind of cleaning my house, and fill out this page. Can you help me? And so she gave me some ideas. So my goal is to declutter one room in my home each month for the next 3 months. And then my target date then would be October 3rd, that I would be done with the 3 rooms. I'll know I achieved my goal because each room will be organized with clear spaces and items only that serve that bring joy or serve a purpose. Why it's important for me to achieve it: a decluttered space enhances creativity and focus, aligns with my values of creativity and adventure, and it invites a sense of peace and opens energy for new opportunities. What will be different when I achieve my goal? My home will feel more serene and spacious, making room for new experiences and ideas. It will also reduce stress and increase productivity. So then I came up with some known obstacles. Procrastination. Does anybody else have that as an obstacle? So I'm going to overcome that by setting a timer, maybe 25 minutes working on it, 5 minutes off. Lack of time. I'm going to schedule it in my calendar. Feeling overwhelmed. Yeah, Andrea's saying, not at all. No, none of us here procrastinate, do we? Feeling overwhelmed. I'm going to start small, maybe create a playlist to work on things to kind of give me some motivation. Not knowing what to do with the stuff, right? So maybe asking for help, finding some ideas for what to do with things. And then my next steps, I'm going to choose the first room and then get 3 boxes. It's going to be a keep, a donate, and a discard box. I'm going to set a time to work on for the first session. I'm going to sort those items into the boxes. I'm going to finish my first room by July 26th because we're leaving to go to Maryland on the 27th. So I want to get that done before we leave. I want to reflect and celebrate completion, maybe plan some sort of small treat or some sort of event. Maybe I'll go to a fun movie when I get this done, or give myself something fun when we travel. And then I'll just repeat this process with the next room. So that's my idea here with my decluttering. We'll see how that goes. Maybe I can share that in Sonder Club with you, how that's working, right? So I'm going to cycle through. I'm not going to read all of these, but I'm just going to cycle through. So you might want to take some screenshots if you're not quite sure on a goal that you want to have. So I have them divided up. The first one I have are some home and organization goals. Then I've got some career and education goals. Then I've got some financial goals. some health and wellness goals, and some personal development and hobbies, right? So, and I saw some people kind of talking about maybe doing some volunteering, that kind of thing. Um, and so I am just going to cycle through these slides, and I'm going to be quiet because I think sometimes it's hard for you to think when I'm blathering on and on. Um, so I will cycle through these slides. Please feel free to share in the chat any ideas that you have for your goal. If you want some help, maybe refining your goal statement or how you know you achieved, how you're going to measure that, put that in the chat, and then we'll check back in.
I get so distracted trying to like read the chat and put things in the chat and find things, and I'm just like, oh goodness, um I've lost my place. So it looks like a lot of folks are doing a good job thinking about it. I think I see a lot of folks also talking about like, I have so many goals, I don't know where to start or what I should work on, and what I should work on first. And Bailey had a really good suggestion of look at that wheel of life and see if there's some area that you scored low in, and maybe that is a good area where you want to focus on. Of course, it's an area that scored low and you know, want to do something with that, right? And you want to kind of increase what that looks like. And I know a lot of folks were talking about, and I even said, like, I think I need to print off another, page because this is a really nice sheet, you know, page to do the goal setting. So I think, I'm not going to swear, but if you send an email to hello@silkandsonder.com and ask them if you could get just page 16 as a PDF, and print that out. If not, I'll see if I can find one. I can get a picture of a blank one and put it in Sonder Club, so you can take that and use it. Yes, and if you have the digital subscription, then obviously you have that as well. Oh, and Annie says she's going to put that in there as well, because I do think that would be, I think this is a great page, right? This is a lovely idea to do work on more than one goal. Now, remember, we always have those 3 weekly goals, and we always say don't do more than 3, right? So I wouldn't try to do like 20 goals and fill this out, because that might get a little much. Yeah. And somebody's asking, can we encourage them to put this in every journal for a different goal every month? I will tell you, the journals are all done through the end of December, and I don't know if they've started working on 2026 yet. So it probably wouldn't be in the 2025, but strongly recommend sending an email to that hello@silkandsonder.com and say, we would love to see a goal setting page that showed up every month, because this would be so helpful for our, maybe we could work on a monthly goal or something like that. I think that's it's a great page, because it really gets you thinking of all those different pieces, right? What's your goal and how you're going to measure. It's the SMART goal. And it really helps you write everything out. So, but believe it or not, we are at the end of our hour. I don't know how this hour always goes by so quickly. Treadmill hours never seem to go by nearly as quickly as our time together. But I really appreciate everyone working on these pages. These are some kind of tough pages, right? Really thinking about the wheel of life, thinking about the goal setting. I do think there might be some goal setting things in the life workbook, or maybe in there's another one of our journals too. But yeah, but great ideas for kinds of things that you want to see. So I am so glad that you spent some time and worked on these with us. And if you want some accountability, or you want some suggestions or some support, sometimes I'm not a fan of the word accountability. I don't do well with you know, kind of micromanaging. So but if you want some support, if you want some kudos, if you want some, you go girls,
post that in the Sonder Club, right? Make it a habit to post at least once a week, or if you want to post daily, how you're doing with your goal, how that's working, and people can give you some feedback on that as well. So let me get to the end here. I did sharing the pages in Sonder Club is always super helpful. And again, you can always go back to this recording if you ever need to spend a little more time with those goals or look at those slides again. And then don't forget, I know a lot of folks were using Jenny, right? Our life coach here. So we do have the 2-week free trial for you to take a look at. So, and hopefully everyone's able to find, because all the July ones are in Eventbrite, but it might not be in the event when you click on that little button in the app. So if you click on the button in the app and it only shows 4, where it says Silk and Sonder, there's like a word that's kind of like in the middle. It's like the name. If you click on that, it should take you to the full. I think there's like 20 some listed in there. So hopefully you're able to find those, get all signed up. Bailey's going to drop some more links in the chat. I will throw in a link for my playlist as well. So I hope you all have a very safe and happy 4th holiday tomorrow. Have a great weekend. I will be seeing you this weekend. I'll be in the chat for some of our weekly setups. And hopefully we will see you all again soon. Take care, everyone.
Come take my hand. You should know me. I've always been in your mind. You know I will be kind. I'll be guiding you. Building your dream has to start now. There's no other road to take. You won't make a mistake. I'll be guiding you. You have to